Hello and welcome, I am Rzeźnik and this is Attila, Total War, and my guide to what is the best pike infantry. I'll try to keep the video short and juicy as there is only a few units, and I will, after this video I'll make another one explaining what is the difference between the spear infantry and pike infantry, which I invite you to watch later. But first, pike units. What is the best pike unit in my opinion? First, as you can see easily, by how few units are there. The first place I gave to elite Ostrogothic pikemen. The second is to the name I cannot pronounce, I'll call them Mena. And the third and fourth are going to the Germanic pikes and Nordic pikemen. Now, the important question is, as the proverb goes, that plans are nothing, planning is everything. So the way of thinking is more important than the conclusion you reach, because given a patch, given a new unit roster, you will be able to adapt your thinking to the new situation and achieve new conclusions. What if there is no one to tell you what is the best unit, even if they are not mistaken? So following the same logical path that I used in my previous spear video is what constitutes a good pike infantry? Pike infantry is an area denial tool. Means it denies movement, operation and attack in certain area. And this is the criteria you want to meet. And I would, while it was strictly precise in what is the best unit, I give it as two subdivisions, two sub-roles you can have. Very cheap, very disposable units that delay the progress of the battlefield, and stand and guard and live through it units that you can pick. Thus, if your priority shifts, these guys may look much more favorable to those too. What's also worth noting is that my top picks are faction specific, hence the black color, belonging to Ostrogoths of Eastern Roman Empire, while my third and fourth pick are belonging to respectively all the Germanic 7 factions and all the Nordic currently in the game as of patch 1.1 4 factions that everyone can pick. So this is a shortcoming because so few nations have pike, and I believe pikemen are so essential to gameplay that most factions would really benefit from it. They are not a flavor unit like naft throwers or dogs. Well, some would argue, I would also, that dogs are actually very, very essential to your gameplay. But let's move it aside. Because there's so few units, I'm gonna talk about all of them. First, Germanic pikes, available to all those visible units, factions. Why they are good? First, very cheap. Next, melee attack is low. However, we have to understand and weapon. If you look on the vanilla stats, 1 base damage, 10 armor piercing, it looks bad. However, what we need to understand is how the pike weapon, it is what equip works. So we go open the melee weapons spreadsheet and we see that from across the stats, the damage, the bonus against, they have no bonus, very poor damage. They have weapon length, the most important stat. Every weapon has 1, with some exceptions of 2, and only one weapon has 5, which is the pike, meaning that first, many ranks of men can use the weapon and attack. Second, you don't need to make contact in combat, meaning you don't take damage by doing it. Amazing. Let's go back to the spreadsheet. This means that front of those units is impenetrable. Not only of the weapon damage, but of the hidden expert variation of the expert charge defense that is listed for spearmen and is not listed on spear pikemen, meaning that a proportion of enemy charge damage is reflected upon the unit. And while the spear infantry will reflect only damage when receiving damage because the weapon range is 1, these guys won't be touched and will be reflecting damage. That's what makes pikemen so insanely powerful, especially against high charge unit, be infantry or cavalry. And not so less potent against units not charging, just walking through you, pulling through, or as it's called, or heavily armored units. Most of them, with those 2 exceptions, are light or very light, which reduces the mass. And all of them have the pike wall ability. Pike wall, well, some spearmen don't have the ability, as you can see, and you could argue that they are good in some situation as a damage assist. Pikemen without pike wall is useless, hence all of them have even the cheapest, very cheapest ones. And pike wall does this, increases your mass, which is very important, if not for the expert charge defense. It makes them stand still. Assemble time is 3 seconds, and they get bonus against cavalry, making them cavalry killers, and more thus infantry more push away the infantry, and they can move. As I spoke in my previous video about my peak of Germanic spearmen as the best spearman, being able to move in formation is absolutely amazing, and that's also what makes pikemen amazing. Without ability to move, which you could argue could be the case, the pikemen would be well, very questionable peak. With the ability to move, they are amazing. Okay, so we decided that resistant to fatigue is not needed, pike wall is needed. What makes elite Ostrogotic pikeman in the first place? The criteria is it holds your ground, and imagine a situation. Enemy pulls a pike front. How do you deal with it? You cannot charge it with cavalry. Charging you with infantry is a bad idea. You can send a very heavy infantry with low charge bonus into pikemen, and then in a very non-cost effective, time-consuming way, you will entangle them in melee combat and somehow penetrate. But time is money, my friend, and it's not the best idea. I want to flank them. If it's possible, that's what will be your efforts. Thus the wall will be impenetrable. The second option in those cheap guys, for the cheap guy, is to shoot them up. They have a small shield and little to no armor, meaning the slingers, archers, crossbowmen, you name it, all form of skirmishing will deplete the unit. What makes elite Ostrogotic spearmen so amazing is, first, they have 44 armor, meaning that the standard slingshot hitting from the front will deal only 5 damage out of the 100 health they have. Second, they have a 25% chance to block inherently, 5 more than all other units. Third, they have an ability of steady that for 30 seconds gives them 10% more for up to 35% missile block chance. While not supremely missile impenetrable, depleting them by a missile fire takes a considerable time and uses up a lot of ammo. Because of the 44 armor, it also means the archers and slingers are not very effective. The only unit, the range unit, is a crossbowman that can bring some pain to the unit, but keep in mind a third of the shots will be deflected. And obviously javelin men, but javelin men have their own problems, so it's mostly like crossbowmen. Crossbowmen are the bane, but other skirmishers this unit is almost impervious to them, which makes it amazing because out of 2 counters, flanking and missile fire, they are almost immune to missile fire. That's why I placed them on the first place. Not only that, but everything is very light. These guys are heavy, meaning the bonus from mass makes them hard to dislocate. They have a shield, better shield, better armor. They have, and the second biggest thing, they have morale. This is a topic for another video, but I will be doing it later. Morale is just not a value that just random value like this. Morale is actually a tier. There are 5 tiers of morale in the game, in 2 variants each, high and low. So there is 10 values in 5 tiers. This is a tier 4 morale unit that you get for 450 cash. If you were to look at the Germanic spearmen, you get only tier 2 morale unit for 450. You get excellent morale for the cash you pay, and it makes that these units will stand to until almost depleted. And if you can chevron them up or boost their morale even further, they will fight almost until depletion. Which is the stats are amazing for the money you pay. It's a very strong units. Okay, and because the role I see for the pikemen is to be defensive, of guarding for example, strengthening your center, making it impenetrable, focusing on flanks, or directing enemy flow, or dictating the rules of engagement of when you want the engagement to happen. Because you can move, I cannot stress it enough, because you can move, you can rotate, which is accommodate to cavalry trying to flank you. You can change dynamically the division of the battlefield. This is just amazing. The second place go to the Mena Lutaoi. And what does it happen? If you look on the stats, well, obviously charge bonus is not good because you are in formation. In formation you cannot throw javelins, and which you don't have, and you cannot charge. But you can melee attack, and melee attack here is 13 more than Elite Ghost of the Pikemen. Is a significant increase. You'll be hitting a lot more. The base for all units is 40, and maximum is 80. And then mass medium, not that important in those units because they do not have a physical contact in melee combat when engaged from the front. Slightly less defense, not that important. Defense, what is not important for pikes? As I told before, you have 5 weapon range, meaning you don't engage in close combat as the units are not touching themselves. You are not using your melee up defense. Your pikes attack have a push effect. You push the units out. And you're not making contact. If you're making contact, it means someone flanked or reared you, and it's a bad situation, and any unit will basically, maybe except for archers, will beat you in this situation. So melee defense is not that important. What is important is armor, which blocks missile fire. You have considerably less armor. From the front here, Elite Ghost of Gothic 45, those guys only 27, meaning those guys will receive from the front only 5 damage from slingers. These guys will receive 23 damage from slingers each shot. So it's a huge delay. Second, they don't have a shield. That's why the defense and armor are so lower. So the same price, no shield. Why doesn't they have a shield? Shield is such a good thing to have on pikemen that only can be defeated by missile fire or flanking. The morale is the same. Well, they were given more stuff here on the passive abilities. They are disciplined, meaning that general dies, they do not receive penalty, moral penalty. And they encourage, which is give like a minute bonus in an AoE. And I would trade those two skills night and day, every day, for a shield, because they are. I don't ever look for those. Discipline, I never try to send my general to death because it's bad for all the non-disciplined units, even if a few disciplined will survive. And encourage is just a small bonus. It's a very small bonus that I found other way to strengthen morale better. What do you get instead of steady, which was a 30-second plus 10% missile block chance, is rapid advance, which is 30-second, 50% movement speed, giving these two units a distinction. So this unit with lower melee attack and better defense and shield, meaning this is a more of a static melee defense unit, pike unit. These guys have higher attack and are faster, meaning they are more of offensive pikes. And my placement of first and second comes from the assumption of the metagame. I want those guys to hold and divide. If the metagame dictates that a pike that is very maneuverable, that is very offensive, is holding the candle, then those guys will be the number one. But in my understanding of the metagame, this is not the situation. It's not what you pick pikemen for. Pikemen are in a genre of defensiveness, of defensive units, and pushing them to the offensive defensive hybrid is a mixed bag. These guys are in a defensive category pike and then have defensive bonuses, which strengthens their base, which I like. Okay, so there are two my picks. The second category of units is holders, the fodder. These guys you buy because they are cheap and they deny area. You don't expect them to kill anything, unless the enemy is very sloppy and stupid. You just want them to hold an area and delay enemy advancement. And you do not care if they die. Those are time buyers, charge delayers, you name it. And Germanic pies are the cheapest one available to the Germanic guys, and Nordic to the Nordic. Well, and the difference between is 60 gold. 60 gold might not seem like a lot, but it's if you look at this, it's a 25% increase over Germanic pies. You pay 1/4 more. 4 more attack, charge bonus doesn't matter, slightly more health, slightly more melee defense, it doesn't matter, and slightly more armor. In my opinion, it doesn't matter. Between this and this armor, you're still gonna die like fly to the enemy missile fire. Between this and this attack, you're not gonna engage enemy melee units with it. You still are basing it to stop the enemy charge. And these units, because they are meant to deny area, you want to spread them in a thinnest line, the so-called, as Maximus called it, spaghetti line. So one full row, second not full row, and so they cover the largest area possible. These guys, however, because how efficient they are, I like them to put them in a three row line, because of the length of 5 of the weapon, meaning that both 3 rows can attack. And both 3 rows apply the kind of expert charge defense debuff, meaning they're very, very hard to penetrate for everything, and they will stay there. So these are my picks. There are some other units that I can touch because there is so few of them. Gothic Levi, exclusive to the Gothic faction, also and Visigoths. A mystery for me. You pay the same as the Germanic pikes that you can get on also Franks, Alans, and Vandals, and you get 1 less attack, 1 less charge, 2 less defense, 2 less health, and you give this all up for 2 more morale, which is tier 2 morale high. This is tier 2 low, tier 2 high, tier 2 low, high. So the trade-off is questionable if it's worth. And I see no reason for this unit to exist. It's just occupying your disk space. It could be deleted, no one would notice really, no one would cry. I certainly wouldn't. And the second exclusive to Goths is Gothic Pikemen. You pay 35 more over Germanic pikes. You get more attack. Well, I've given you my opinion on charge bonus on pikes. Some more defense, which is also useless. A slight more armor, which is still too low to hold any damage, and 2 more health, and you're slower. So those 2 units, just if you were to delete them, no one will cry. If you want a cheap fodder unit, you don't want to make it more expensive cheap fodder unit, right? So non-factor. Okay, to sum it up, pikes, in my opinion, are a very useful tool to have, especially against dominant cavalry, because they cover a wide area of terrain that you dictate how the enemy moves, how they engage you. They are cheap, which makes it good for this kind of supportive unit. This is not the unit that will win this battle, it is a support unit. So they fall into the below 500 category. I remind you what is my criteria here. There are 2 categories of units that I see them. It's below and equal 500 and above, meaning that if you divide 20 slots by 10,000 cash that you get an average of 500 per slot to spend if you were to populate all the unit slots. So if you are to buy all those units below or equal to 500, and you can then cheven up, you get the more units. And having more units, if not compromising or on quality versus gold, means you have more units to flank the enemy, more reinforcements, which is good. And all those packs fall into this category, and this is the category I very like for the support units, and not so much for the melee cavalry or shock cavalry, but the support units like spear, pikes, bows. This is my favorite category for units. I love those cheap ones. And so this is a big plus, and especially Elite and Gothic Pikemen, they are so good. I will give you in the second video, I'll be comparing spear infantry and pike infantry. What are the differences? What are the strength, weaknesses? How they complement each other? Maybe one of them is better than the second in all of the roles, on some of the roles. And I'll be giving you examples in the game, not talking about the spreadsheets. So I invite you to watch the second video I'll be publishing maybe today, maybe tomorrow. However, to sum it up, the strength of this, especially this unit, is amazing. The downside is it is a faction exclusive unit. Only Ostrogoths get it. Eastern Roman Empire gets a different variant of the same variant of the same unit, so only 2 factions of all of the factions can use it. It's a downside. More factions could really use Pikemen in this very good form. and Germanics and Nordics get all the cheap ones, which makes them kind of a flavor unit. And I believe that if I played Ostrogoth, I would bring always the pike. The pikes are amazing, which I will give you more info in my comparison Spearmen versus Pikemen infantry video. I hope you enjoyed watching. I hope it was informative. Feel free to ask any questions, and see you in the next video.